Okay, we're recording. Here we go, folks.
Yay!
Tell me a story with Pamela Steele. Go ahead, Pam.
Hi
What are we
guys.
doing today?
What are we doing? We're learning how to tell stories with tarot. It is it's a workshop that I developed a few years ago for actually the Wizard's Pets Tarot. This is the ABCs. This is a learning deck. It's to teach people to flawlessly go from card to card to card in the Celtic Cross. Okay, because a lot of people had said, "Oh, I have so much trouble with that deck or that spread." Why? It's really very simple. You can go through it in 10, 15 minutes, or you can take an hour. It's up to you. But the whole thing comes down to this: what each position represents is like your roadmap. Okay. So what we've got here now, there again, this is usually done live and in person with a bag of poker chips, in a corner a bag of poker chips, and they're numbered 1 through 10, and everybody gets to draw one number, and then that is your number. That you can pick whatever deck you want, you can use whatever card you want, but you draw a card, and that's the position you're reading for. Now, a little bit about storytelling. First of all, I mean, the art of tarot, it relates entirely to the pictures. I mean, you can have the greatest tarot book in the world, but unless you've got images to go with it, you're really going to lose a lot in the translation, because we've been telling stories since time immemorial. And if you think back about the cave paintings and whatnot, they weren't just wall art. What they were they were saying, okay, this is where you can find buffalo, and this is where you hunt at, and this is how you hunt, and this is how many warriors it's going to take or hunters it's going to take. So the whole thing about cave paintings was about recording history. It was about telling stories so that the next people that showed up at the cave would know, okay, we're not going to get any of these here, but we might be able to catch some of those, So anyway, and it comes down year after year, people would add to these stories. Okay. And this is kind of how tarot is. Like each year we have more new decks than you can shake a stick at. And I mean, some of them are absolutely marvelous. They're epic. And some of them you think, wow, what were you thinking? But that's me. Okay. Anyway, what it really comes down to is you need to be comfortable with your readings. You need to begin to read for yourself and for each other. And the trick, I'll tell you this right now, the trick to reading for yourself is don't read for who you are now. If you want to use this technique, read for who you're becoming instead of who you are now. And that makes it a lot easier. So anyway, if you open up your handout there, and it's in the chat, anybody that wants, you can weave the story around the person, delve into the foundation, explore the influences, and all this other stuff. It's just a matter of getting from, oh my God, there's so many cards, and how do I memorize them all, to no. Here's your map. All you need is one. So what we did before was, there again, we had numbers assigned or drawn numbers, so they were assigned. If you guys want to try this, we can just go 1 through 6, and then, or I can take a number 1 through 7, and then somebody can double up, but you don't get 1 and 2. You can get, like, if you take 2, then you can take 7 or something like that. You see? Or we could, if you want to try this. But if you look through the handout right now, where's my glasses? I'm blind as a bat. If you look through the handout, position 1 is the plot, and this is where you've got 2 minutes to explain what exactly is the situation, what's going on, how deep is this pile of whatever we're dealing with. And number 2, the card that crosses it, this is your hero, your heroine, however you want to describe it. But this is your main character for the reading. So if you were actually sitting across from someone, this is when you would get a little bit of insight as to who this person is. Maybe physical characteristics, emotions, where their head's at, maybe a touch about what they're passionate about. But this is essentially the card that tells us about who we are reading for. Card 3, motivation. And if you look down, I've got the spread itself numbered below where all of this is written. This is the motivation. What's driving our hero? money, fear, power, 57 Chevy, hunger, greed, jealousy, love, desire. In other words, this is where you figure out what is powering this situation. Okay. 4 is your history. This is the background. This is the influence passing away, so to speak. It's much like when the narrator steps out from behind the curtain and enlightens the audience, like Paul Harvey's Rest of the Story kind of thing. It's where you have a little bit of insight as to what brought the person to the here and now. 5, purpose. Where do you plan on going? Where does this person plan on going with this? What are you thinking? What is your goal, your inspiration? You kind of have to really look at it to see where you're going from there. Is it a brilliant idea? Is it something that really you don't want to step in? This is where you find that out. So then you go to 6. 6 is a surprise. 6 is kind of what the gods and goddesses have destined for you, which is a good thing. In other words, this is what's going to happen. All right. So given no changes, this is where you're going to trip over real quick. You may be meeting with a tall, dark stranger. You may fall into an open pit. Who knows? But then you've got the column. You've got the 7. Okay. 7, 8, 9, 10. You've got your last 4 cards. Now 7 is, I define that as the deep, dark secret. And what this is this is like a game of gossip, where the person that starts it, they start out telling us the plot. They get their 2 minutes of fame to tell us what's going on. The second person picks it up and continues the story. It's like, has anybody here ever played gossip, where you sit in a circle and one person reads a piece of paper and they whisper in the ear of the next person and they tell that person what it says on the paper. And after it goes around, after about 6 or 8 people, even 10 people, the last person has to actually say out loud what it was that was written on the paper. And 99% of the time, it's something totally different. We did one workshop in, I can't remember where I was at the time. And we had a limited number of people. I think we only had 7 there at that day. And so a couple of people doubled up. And it was really cute because it started out, we started out with the 5 of Pentacles. So, oh my goodness, somebody's in dire straits here. And now what are we going to do? Et cetera, et cetera. And then there was this card for this woman came up. And by, I think it was the end of the first 2 cards, we had an ex-pole dancer who was down and out on her luck and really needed to get in touch with her family. And it just went on and on and on until everybody was laughing so hard you could barely think or talk. But this is where it can go. It doesn't have to be serious. We're telling stories here. They don't have to be real stories. In fact, they're not real stories. So what I want you all to do is to, as you're going through this exercise, when you come to the card 7, deep dark secret, okay, what is it? What is your deepest, darkest secret? Do you actually keep stray cats in your basement and bring them up one step at a time till everybody in the house gets used to them? Did you pick up a hitchhiker 2 days ago that turned out to be your lost brother or twin? Like, what is it about it? You can make this stuff up as you go, but let the card, whatever card you've picked up, let it inspire you. Let it tell you what your part of the story is. Okay. And it just keeps going. Like card 8 is your support group. All right. These are the people that are going to help you out along the way, or the organization. Maybe you're going to AA now, or maybe it's a church group. Who knows? Card 9 is your epiphany. When the clouds part and the little cherubs drop down and they're playing trumpets and it's all really cute. And all of a sudden the voice comes through and all it says is, wow, you're not ready yet, so I really can't divulge that. Who knows what it's going to say, but that's up to you to decide. Okay. And 10 is your eureka moment. This is where everything culminates and you get to tell, this is where the story goes from here. You understand? Because it's written in ink on paper. It's not written in stone. And we know this about tarot reading. And that's what I love about the Celtic Cross. It's such a versatile spread. I made this all up. I made it up just to teach people how to use it. So any questions, or do you want to try it? Hello.
Hey, everybody. You can unmute your mics, I think.
Yeah.
And what do you think, everyone? I think it's really neat.
It's fun. And just for the record, after the if you scroll down on your handout, after the spread, what I did was I went ahead and listed all of the cards in order with a little bit of a inspiration, keywords, key phrase, something like that, in case someone gets stuck, because we've used that a lot, especially with people that are not tarot people. It's hilarious, but anyway, it's all good.
I don't know if it's just me, but it sounds like your mic is going in and out, like the audio.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you sound really, really good at one point, and then it starts fading, and then you're back again. Are you using the mic that's built in your headset, or?
Usually, because it works way better than this other one. This other one sucks.
Yeah, see, you sound really good right now, but then did anybody else notice that Pam would kind of fade?
I do.
It was with movement.
Yeah. Probably just me.
It sounds good now. Sounds good now.
I think part of it has to do with if it falls below a certain point, like if it drops down behind my desk, it's got to be right here.
Could be.
Okay, I hope.
Sounds good
anyway.
Now.
So anybody have any questions?
Do we get to play? Do we get to play?
Please, let's do it. Okay, really, according to my screen, Moira, you're one. Did I say your name right?
It's Moira.
Moira, you're number one. Sharona's 2. Who's on the iPhone? The lady with the wonderful baby.
I'm Vita.
Eden?
Vita.
Yeah. You're number 3. Mary's
okay.
4. Mary's 4. Dax is 5. And if Robin wants to play, Robin's number 6. I don't know.
So I'm on my handphone. What's number 3 again?
Number 3 is the motivation. What drives our hero? Fear, money, power, a 57 Chevy, hunger, greed, jealousy, love, or desire. Like whatever the motivation is. Okay. Okay, we had someone drop out, so I guess that makes me number 6. And then we can start over again. And then Maura, you can be number 7. Sharon is 8. Vita's 9. And Mary can be 10. How's that? All right, we ready?
Sounds good.
Rock and roll. Okay.
Right.
Knock whatever blows your hair back and knocks your socks off. Go for it. So the first point is the plot. What is the situation? What's going on?
Okay. You want me to draw a card?
Yep.
Okay. Ace of Swords. So yes. What exactly the situation? Brand new way of thinking of things, brand spanking new way of making decisions, and things are going to be coming to you fairly quickly. So yeah, lots of things to consider here.
Okay, Sharona. You're number 2, and this is the person. This describes the person that we're reading for.
Okay, I have the Hierophant. So a teacher or a mentor.
What's her name? His name?
His name? Doc.
Perfect. Okay, so Doc is, how does it relate to what Maura said?
Well, she had like the Ace of Swords. So it was like a new way of thinking. So we have Doc here, who is, he's kind of a traditional way of thinking. So maybe what's going on? He's kind of questioning a lot of the stuff that he stands for because he's the traditionalist, the iconoclast. So this is an aha moment for Doc.
Awesome. Okay, Veda, you've got 3, and this is the motivation. What motivated Doc to do this? Ooh, you got your phone on mute.
So I don't know if you can see, I got the 10 of Pentacles, and I see the gentleman over here watching the family and just watching life, what's going on. He is Doc, and what's motivating him is maybe he's thinking about everything that he's missed in life because he's been so traditional and strict on his own life. And he's just pondering and wanting, you know, maybe he wants to go back. Maybe he's just like missing all the things he didn't do, but he's watching a family here and their dogs and seeing their happiness. And so, yeah, he's trying to see what his new path is going to be.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Mary, you've got history, a bit about the background.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Doc. This is the 5 of Cups here. I don't know if you can see that. He's been let down before. You know, we've all been let down before, right? And along comes this new way of thinking, this new opportunity. And he's thinking about that family and everything, but you know, there's just something right there that's saying like, is this just going to be another broken cup? Is this going to be the moment where I think there's something there and I'm reaching for it? And is it going to be another letdown? You know, and that is why he wrestles with this.
Awesome. Dax, you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're number 5. What's okay?
Purpose.
This is purpose. Yeah. Okay. So let's hear it.
I was having trouble with my mic. I better just unmute. That whole hitting the space bar thing isn't that great. So I got the Justice card, which I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get into focus here. Ooh, that's such a pretty one too, you know.
Oh, beautiful.
So his purpose is justice, and you know, not just receiving justice, but I mean the scales in this version of the card are very prominent. So you know, balance in his life.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so that it's me. Number 7.
That is higher overall purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, like soul purpose, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. Deep dark secret. Ooh. Okay. All right. I got the star. So, and this is a naked person, you know, one foot on. Okay. The star is insight. It's inspiration. It's the card that follows the tower, for crying out loud. And if you think about it, really what he was looking for was something inspired him, something that was so out of the ordinary. It was like he'd been waiting all his life to hear the voice of the gods, or his god, or whatever he was waiting for. And when it finally happened, he didn't want to tell anybody because he thought, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm all nuts, I'm crazy. But it was so real, and it's something he can't shake. It's like the voice in his head when he was a little kid. He can still hear it, but now it's getting louder and it's getting more insistent, and he doesn't know what to do about it because, wow, they're going to think he's crazy and take away his church. So, or whatever it is he does. Okay. So that's what he's hiding all these years. Okay.
Oh, wait, when you pulled up that card, I have to say, the first thing that popped in my head is his deep dark secret is he likes to go skyclad.
Oh, no, there you go. See, that's
Yep.
probably it.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Oh, Vita pointed out that we may have missed number 6. Did anybody do the surprise yet? Card 6? Because you just did dark secret 7.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah, we should do 6. Do 6 stacks since you're not busy.
Oh, thanks. The one person out of this entire group that is horrible at stories. Okay.
No, you're doing great. I love it. And I can't count. Did
I'm
anybody ever
gonna
tell you that?
cutting the deck here. And what did I get? Oh, Queen of Cups.
Ooh, okay.
Queen of Cups.
Surprise.
How is that a surprise though? I mean, I'm trying to figure this out.
Maybe he dresses like a woman. Maybe
That
his
could be
mom was a huge
it. That could be-
influence. I mean, you know, you just one that said he likes to run around buck naked. So
I
like,
know. Well, you know, I'm looking at your notes because one of the neat things about the handout is if you scroll down, you've got stuff for every card. It's really cool. And so for the Queen of Cups, you have down trust what you feel. Maybe that's the surprise
there you go. That works.
that he's, you know, either not trusting what he feels or he's surprised that he's actually trusting what he feels. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got the deep dark secret. He likes to go skyclad.
Yep.
Who's 8?
That's Moira. She's 8.
Moira.
Okay.
Moira. She's 8.
Well, I pulled the same card as Max, so I will pull another one. Because I pulled.
Sure, why not?
Justice. Let me just do another one. 1 second. I guess our hero really does need High Priestess.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I love this deck. My absolute
Pretty.
favorite. Okay. So according to your list, we want to know if Doc has any support groups or if he has any person standing behind him and going like, yes, we're with you all the way. I think it's interesting that the High Priestess comes up because it could be that Doc has support from a higher power. And the High Priestess is saying to him, trust your inner self. And also look for your dreams because your answer will come through your dreams as well as your intuition. So support group may not be something totally overt. It's more internal and it would depend upon what Doc needs to do, whether if he wants to look outside of that internalized support group and talk to real live human beings or trust his own instincts.
Exactly. Well done. Okay, Sharona, you've got 9, which is the Epiphany.
So I have,
Woo.
okay, he's, you know, he's guarding his heart. He's not sure what Doc wants to do. This is not the first time this has happened. So he's kind of afraid. He's kind of like putting up, you know, boundaries, but, you know, he kind of wants to break free, but there's this fear, deep fear that doesn't know whether he's prepared for what's going to happen.
Wow. This is great. This is great. I seriously great. Veda, okay, you've got the eureka moment. Resolution, restitution.
Eureka.
Now our hero will be at the next phase of his or her journey in dealing with a whole new pile of bones. Go for it.
Me? Right. Okay. So I got the world card. If anybody can see that world card. And so, you know, in a sense, it's oh,
What deck is that? That is really cool.
this is the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Turian.
Oh, the Abyss, yeah. Awesome.
See, it's like a womb and an eye looking into it with this infinity symbol, you know, and so it's really, you know, that kind of thing where it kind of goes right back to the beginning. It's time for a new cycle. It's time for him to step into it and forget all the fears, forget all the past pain, forget about all of that. Because if he doesn't do it now, when is he going to do it? So he seizes the day, right? It's this moment where it occurs to him that, like, hey, wait a minute, you know, I need a new cycle here. I have this new opportunity, and I think he goes for it. You know, where does it lead him? You know, well, it leads him maybe back to himself. You know, maybe he realizes that he's part of that infinity loop, and that, you know, the past may repeat, but it doesn't show up in the same way. And you can't let that stop you from your future. I don't know.
Goes,
That's
goes right
what I
back to
got.
the, goes right back to the Ace of Swords, the first card
Yeah.
drawn.
It does.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you see how all of this works?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. This is cool.
And anybody who wants to download this and take it to your group and give it a run through, go for it. That's why it's there. It's what it's about.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people
Awesome.
are listening to this, you know, the recording, and maybe on YouTube or on our website or whatever. And you could, you know, print out the handout and meet in person and do it. Boy, that'd be fun.
That is.
Yeah.
It's really fun if you got the poker chips in the Crown Royal bag too. It's a hoot.
I love those bags. They're great. You can use them for.
You
Yeah.
can't hardly get them anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you buy the Crown Royal in, since, well, I don't drink, so I'm no fun.
Yep.
But yes, by all means. And does anybody have any questions at all? Like I said, it would help if I could really see what I'm doing, but if I put my glasses on, the light reflects, and if I don't put my glasses on, it looks like trying to read a phone book in the dark. Okay, so anyway, old age. I can't help it. I'm old. Question.
So the purpose of this exercise is to see that we're all connected, or?
That's a good point. Yes, we are all connected. But the purpose is to teach you to use your intuition, listen to what other people are saying, and kind of work together to build that story, because we're all writing our stories every moment of every day. And it can tell you so much. You just, when you sit down to do a reading for anybody, okay, and you've got these cards on, and that's why I like using spreads, because the position is my roadmap. It tells me exactly where I'm going with all of this. It tells me what am I looking for in this, and that's kind of where we're at. Like everybody participating, I've actually done real readings with other readers contributing, which was really weird at first, but like Dax said, maybe he likes to go skyclad. That didn't even occur to me, but it did to him. He throws it in there, and that added another layer that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So yeah, it's what you want to do with it is more important than what it is. If that makes any sense.
I'd like to ask you, Pamela, to talk more about the Celtic cross. And the reason is, when we were discussing this workshop, because I didn't have all the details, it had been so long since we,
Yep.
kind of planned that we were going to do this. And you told me way back then, but that was months ago. So I had to get on a phone call recently with and she started talking about, using the Celtic cross. And, I know a lot of people, they have strong opinions about the Celtic cross. Some people just completely dismiss it out of hand, or, poo-poo it completely, or they, some other people don't like using really big spreads. They like to use smaller spreads or different spreads for each thing. But it's really your go-to thing, right? And
It is.
yeah, so I'd like you to just talk a little bit about that, and why, why the Celtic cross, and how you think it works really well for readings and such.
Okay, if you look at the traditional Celtic cross, the first card generally represents the querent or the seeker, whoever you're talking about. And the card that crosses that is the influence of the situation. I have learned over time that it depends on who you're reading for as to how these positions can actually evolve and have a different guideline for you in your map. Okay. The beauty of this is if you took all 10 cards and put them on a table and looked at them all together, you've got, I think it was three major arcana in that. Okay. And you've got a timing card. You've got the Ace of Swords. Okay. I use aces as timing cards. And because it was on the plot, it meant right here, right now. Okay. So whatever you're thinking right here and right now is important. It would represent more the plot in this situation than it would the person. And that's why I say you've got to be flexible, I think. And you've got to be able to read the room, read the situation, read the cards as a continuing story. And that's what we've just done. We've made a story that really fits. I mean, it's entirely plausible. And it goes without saying that there were enough cards in there to give us enough details in every area that we needed. And that's kind of why I like the Celtic Cross, because it has enough cards. I usually use an extended. In other words, mine goes with 12 cards. After 10, I put it down 2 more. And I always read the 6th card and 10, 11, 12 together as one idea, one concept, one issue, which there again, it was learning to read. It teaches you to read the cards together instead of card by card by card. Even if we did it do it card by card, it doesn't matter. We were all on point, on focus, and we stuck to the general idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah. One thing that came to mind when you were saying that was laying out that many cards, you automatically start to be able to see trends even before
Yes.
you go into the reason.
Yes.
Like,
And that was
lots
how
of
I
a
was taught.
particular number, or lots of a particular suit, or lots of majors, or
Yep. And that's how I learned to read was 1, 2, 3 card spreads, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's do 10. Excuse me, like we're just going to add another 7 cards because you said so. Yeah, we are. And at first, it was a little overwhelming because one, I didn't have anybody to really teach me. They kind of dropped it on me, and then they left. I had 2 books. I had one by Eva Gray, woo, and I had one by Arthur Wake. That was the only 2 books I could find anywhere.
wow,
And
the originals.
no kidding. And what I would do was I thought, well, the only way I'm going to get past this is to start keeping notes. So I got one of those spiral binders, and every day I would write date. I would write, if I used a spread, it was usually CC, and what card came up in which position. And I would go through both books and try to find a common thread. And then what I would do is leave myself room. So for the next week, month, whatever, however long it took, something would happen in my life. And I would think, oh, that's what the cards were telling me. Wow. And I would go back and write it down. So that's actually how the Steel Wizard companion book happened. The second one is way more in depth. But this one, I went back through all my notes, and that's where the guidelines for interpretation came, was from those notes. There were like 2 banker boxes of them, because I did that for 5 years, over 5 years, before I ever started reading for anyone else. And the first time I sat down to read for someone, it all came back to me. It was just like, okay, we know that in this situation, you can't look at the book and figure out what it's going to be. What does it tell you here? It taught me how to really trust my instincts. It really trust my intuition. And that's what it did. And the Celtic Cross taught me that. It also taught me that may not be what this position means in this instant. this particular situation could be referring to, you know, and that's why I got kind of creative whenever I put these in there, because it put the positional meanings in there, was because what happens, it's pretty close to the original, like number 4 being background history. I mean, this is the influence passing away. That's the traditional. Okay. And card 3, you know, the foundation, that's what it usually, well, that's how I learned it, but it's the motivation. What happened that made you want to go here to bring you to 1 and 2? What happened to bring you to here? And essentially that's how it got going up. People love or hate the Celtic cross, and it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to tell anybody what to think or how to believe. I'm just going to muddle through and make sure that what I do works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to reinvent it or recreate it. One of the two. Okay.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. So right now I'm super basic and I just use either one card for, like, I do like a free weekly tarot reading thing, and I just use one card, and everybody to like gain more experience is one of my reasons why I do that. But privately, I do 3 card spreads, and then I pull extra ones depending on like their birthday, what they want to know soonest, stuff like that. I have a set price for what I do those small spreads for. Does doing the Celtic cross, first of all, can you use that for like everything? Like some questions I don't feel a need like all those cards. And if someone does use a spread like that, does that mean like, oh, I can charge more money for like, I don't know. It seems like I could probably read someone's whole life with that kind of spread. You know what I mean? Like,
You can. I charge my time. Okay. And like, okay, I will run like if I'm at a big event and I know that I'm going to be doing 10, 12 readings in a day. I keep them to half an hour. That's it. That's all. You will never get me to go past that. But I charge a lot for it. Well, not a lot. I mean, I usually give them a break because they're friends of mine, the people that run the shows. But I mean, for the most part, I can do, I can go through an entire Celtic cross in 15 minutes, if 10, if I need to. And I'm still going to charge $40 or $50, depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing. So it's the quality. And I mean, if you're building your business, please never sell yourself short. Do not undercut your pricing, because I'm just starting. And actually I will never forget this. I was at a medieval fair, and our readers, we were supposed to have 4 readers. 2 of them didn't show up. And I was one of the organizers. So I get this panic call the night before. Oh my God. And I said, fine, I'll bring my pavilion. I'll set up. We can do this. Somebody else can take over what I was doing. So I'm sitting in my tent, and but the jousting had just started. So I had about 10 minutes before people started lining up to the gate again. And so I'm sitting there and I'm quickly going through my phone, and all of a sudden the entire light source blocked out. And I looked up, and there was a man that he was big enough. He warranted his own area code. He was huge, this giant of a man. And he said to me, he says, "Are you there a tarot reader?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And I'm still thinking, God, he's big. And he's got his hands on the top of my tent, my 7-foot tent, and he's looking under it at me. And he said, "Are you any good?" And I didn't even look up from my phone. I said, "Actually, no, I suck." And he started to laugh. And he laughed so hard, the whole thing was shaking. And he said, "What you charging?" And I said, "Well, for you, my friend, $20. How's that?" Because I was only doing like 5-minute readings, 10-minute readings, maybe. And he sat down. And by the time I was done, this giant of a person got out of my tent, and people were lining up already. But he went and got his wife, his son's girlfriend, her best friend, and two people in passing, and Broadman made them stand there to get their cards read. So it wasn't so much the length of the reading, it's what you can give these people. You see?
Yeah. That's kind of how I do my thing right now.
Good.
I feel like I'm valuable, you know,
are.
and I still don't know what everybody's thing is. I just hope that, you know, I don't feel like I'm underdoing. I felt at first I was underdoing, but now I feel like maybe I'm just not sure. I definitely don't want to overdo it because I know I'm not the shit yet. And
Mhm.
How do
but
you know that?
I am valuable. And so I was just like wondering like how people did that, if they
Well,
do
real
like a
quick,
Celtic spread.
Peter, real quick, I wanted to say,
Mhm.
because we hear this kind of thing all the time, and it does get confusing because you watch other people and they're charging per minute, they're charging per reading, they're charging so much for 3 cards, so much for 5, so much for 10.
That's kind of how I do right now.
Right.
That's fine.
And I always tell people that I charge for my time. I don't charge for the length of the reading, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously part of the time equation there, but how many cards I pull, how many questions I'm answering, how many spreads I'm doing, how I'm doing it, you know, with a Celtic cross, or I'm doing multiple 3-card or 5-card spreads or whatever. You know, to me, in my head, it helps if you just think my time is valuable. I'm going to set a price on it, and this is what I'm charging for my time. Now, if you're doing email readings where you're not going live with the client in a teleconference or in person, that might be different. Then you might charge so much per question, or for so many set of cards, or what have you, because the time element thing is different. Actually, I find I spend more time on those kind of readings than I do in a live reading. Actually, but I charge less for that. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But basically, that's the point I wanted to make real quick. I don't know, everybody here hopefully will give their opinion, how they work. I'd like to hear everybody's idea. Moira and Sharona and Mary put her camera back on. Hi, Mary. But to me, I think it really helps to think, you know, I'm charging for my time. I'm not charging for my service. Oh, that also knocks out that little thing where you got those people, you know, those pesky people that are like, but what you're doing is spiritual. You shouldn't be
God.
charging for it. And I go, my time is valuable. I don't charge to read cards for you. Then I charge for my time. It's simple.
Okay. And something else that probably should be mentioned too is it's what the market will bear. Okay. Because if I'm reading locally in my town, this is one of those areas where if I charge what I charge when I go out of town, I would never have another person sit down. A lot of people will tell you, oh, you should be charging more, but think about what the market will bear. Like what I did when I first started doing this, there was nobody else in town that was doing tarot readings except one girl at the bar, and she was different. I don't like to, yeah, we won't even go there. But the thing of it is, it's what you're comfortable with too. That's going to play a big part. I mean, if it embarrasses you to ask for $100 for a reading, then that's going to come through. But if you say, okay, yeah, I can do, you know, like it depends on what you're looking at. What do you need to know? Most people come and sit down in front of me, and all they say to me is, lay it off. You know, like, did I miss something? Am I still on my path? What do I need to watch for? And that's it. So it's what the market will bear, will have a lot of influence on what you can charge or do charge.
So you said that you made this specific Celtic cross for your video, right? So there's different Celtic crosses, like you can assign each card their meaning, their specific.
More
My
often.
batteries.
Oh, you need to plug it in?
Yeah, I got 10% now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did for this because I knew the situation I was going to be in. But the Celtic cross it's not thousands of years old. It's about 100 years old. Okay. And pretty well everybody, if you Google the word Celtic cross, tarot, it's going to show you pretty much standard formats, standard maps that you can use. But there again, I've been doing this a very long time and I get a little creative sometimes. And you can do it too. I'm saying there's no right or wrong way to do this. There's no right or wrong way to read tarot. You're right. Whatever you're doing is right, because as long as your heart's in the right place and you're doing it in service to your truth and the person that you're reading for, and you're doing it for that reason, those reasons, then you can't do it wrong. You just can't. It's impossible. In my opinion.
Well, are there any other questions about the Celtic cross or this particular exercise that Pamela did, or if anybody wants to give their opinion on, since it came up, on pricing your services is such a big thing, everybody keeps asking about that, and we've gone over it a million different ways and a million different times. But I feel another workshop coming on. But I'd like to hear, what Mary and Sharona and Moira have to say about that. Who wants
What?
About pricing your services and
Oh.
how do you do it? How do you do it?
Hello, wake up. Yeah, you should charge. You shouldn't do free stuff. If you do free readings, then that's great to do it like a group thing. You just pull one card or whatever. But think of when you do that as being a way of promoting that you're a tarot reader, that they might want to get a fuller reading from, more detail, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
As far as charging, I do most of my readings on a reading service. So it's per minute. And so it's like $3.15 a minute. Okay. And so I kind of have always thought about it in terms of minute by minute. So when I read outside of that service, because I do private readings too, I like to really give them a break, because when I'm charging on the reading service, they're not just, they're paying me, but they're also paying the service. So I like to sort of just cut out what the service would get. And so, that puts me about $2 something a minute or whatever. So if I'm going to do a 30-minute reading, then, that would be $60, right? But then I think I don't know. So what I did with my private readings is my 30-minute readings are $45. And I do 1 hour readings. It just happens a lot, for $75. So it's sort of like, if they paid for 2 30-minute readings, it would be $90. So paying $75 for 1 hour is a bargain, But when I started out, it was $1 a minute. So if I did a 30-minute reading, it was $30. If it ended up being like a 1 hour reading, I always priced that a little bit lower, so the longer reading would look like a bargain. And I have no background in finances or in economics or anything. So that's just, what I ended up doing, and it seems to work. And I'm still in business, a decade or so later. So I didn't screw up too bad, I guess.
There you go.
But that's just me. What do other people do?
Who wants to go next? Moira, do you want to reveal or do you not want to reveal? It's okay if you don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm cool. Thanks for calling me out, Dax. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
That's okay. Sharona's next, so get ready.
There we go. I'm I'm similar, very similar to Mary in that finances are not my thing. But I agree that your time and my time and e-reader's time is worth something. And to undercut oneself is really not a good thing, because it actually, for me, when I was doing it, became problematic because I started going, well, you know, I really shouldn't charge this much money. It had an adverse effect on me. So when I went, you know, damn it, I'm worth this, and I've been doing this for years, and I should charge a good price. I got it through my head that I was worth this. So I do work for a service. I actually work for two different services. One is just chatting only, and the other one is actually having a telephone conversation, which I actually prefer better. But I do have a couple of study clients that I do email reading for, and they take a long time, because what I do is when I lay out the spread based upon what they want to know, is I take handwrite notes as they come to me, and then I have to type it all up. And I find that when I look at my handwritten notes, it actually triggers what I want to tell the person. And that takes a lot of time. It really does. I find that it can be very exhausting, because you're processing this information, you're processing what you want to tell the person, and then you're typing it all up and go like, am I making sense here? So then you look at it and go, yeah, okay. And then I would go back to the reading, because I always take a picture of the reading and the card spreads on my iPhone, and I upload that too. And I'll tell them that, okay, the moon is doing X. Wonderful, we got a Mercury retrograde. So reading that with those kinds of cautions in place. But again, I find it very difficult for me to charge other than what I've decided to charge. But again, what Pamela said, you know, you read the market.
Nope. Something just jumped there.
Yeah, like a glitch or whatever.
Yeah, there was like a glitch, Moira. We didn't get the last sentence. It like cut off. What were you ending up with there?
Oh, I was ending up with, this has been a learning curve for me, a learning experience for me. And I agree with what Pamela had said, was you read the market. So if I go to a smaller town, like even my own hometown, I'm not going to be charging what I would charge in the big city that I live in right now.
Yeah, it's all locale. Yeah. And you know, since COVID, a lot of us do it via teleconference or phone, so it really doesn't matter, because your client could be in New York City or Berlin or Kansas City or some small town somewhere. It's different. But you know, when you're doing it in person, you know, that's when you're like looking at, you know, what's the market going to bear. And I like how Mary said that when she started, because it was same with me, it was around $1 a minute on average, whether they were charging by minute or charging by session or hour. If you divided the number of, you know, minutes in the hour, it always came out to be right around $1, you know, like $60 readings for an hour. And then it doubled. Now it's getting closer to $3 a minute, but a lot of people are still at $2 a minute. So $120 for an hour. I don't do hour sessions. I do a 20% discount and I cut back, but I'll explain that in a minute. I'll give mine. But Sharona, do you want to talk about it? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
Okay, well, my thoughts are, for years, I've been reading for, I guess, an agent. So they advertise their readers, and I work with that group, and I also work for an agent that sets me up for parties. So it's different. I mean, it roughly comes out to that whole thing, you have to charge at least $2 a minute. So that's, so I generally say for an hour, it's 120. And I can't undercut what my agent bills me for, or the other people that are part of the group that I'm reading with. But I just roughly say it's like 120 an hour. And that's because if it's through the agent, they take 20%. So I usually end up with what, $100 an hour. And if I do a party, which are also done through an agent, I don't do them on my own. They book them and they know my terms. That's something like I charge a minimum 1 hour. I'm not 1 hour, 3 hours for a party, plus all my transportation. And then I get to keep the tips. So the minimum that I would charge for a party would be like, 300 plus transportation, and I get to keep the tips. So I guess that roughly comes out to $100 an hour. And I really can't go lower or higher because there's others of us that we kind of honor each other's territory. But it's basically $2 an hour, that comes out to 120 wherever you go.
Yep, $2 a minute.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, $120 is right in there on the low end of the scale, low to mid end of the scale in most areas for going to see any professional, whether they're a life coach or a Reiki master, a psychotherapist, they're
Massage therapist.
yeah, you're in New York City, it might be $500 an hour or $350 an hour, but
No, it's not. I'm in New York City. I mean, it's, they're cheap here too. But the one thing that you'll find is your peers are going to keep you in line. So if I charge below the rest of the people that I know that are kind of in the circle that I know, that wouldn't be good.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you have to respect. I mean, the thing is, and if you undersell your services, you're underselling everyone that's part of your professional community. And it's important that you do have a community and you respect the people that are within your community. And that also, makes sure that you don't. It's funny, I did a show earlier today and we were talking about within the spiritual community, there's a lot of people are into poverty consciousness. And we have to kind of respect who we are and what we get paid for, because it's not just us, it's all of us. And
yeah, that's what we've been trying to promote with the guild for the longest time, is to get everybody together like that, because it helps the industry as a whole, and it is all over the place. It still is, many decades later since we started, it's all over the place. But there's a basic mean, and if you go onto some of these services, you might see much higher per minute numbers. You might see $5.95 a minute, $9.99 a minute. The reason is because those readings are typically in minutes. They're very much shorter, is why you might notice that. I'll just tell you mine real quick. I offer mine live via text chat, Skype call, like audio or video, Zoom, like we're doing right now, telephone or email. Now, I haven't been doing a lot of email readings of late. I've done them in the past. They actually take a lot more time, as I mentioned earlier, but I actually charge less. I think it's because of the, in-person thing, or I include live teleconference with that. It's worth more of my time, because when I'm doing it via email, I can stop and come back to it, and it actually helps my process. I think I do better readings when I do email, to be honest with you. I'm not getting as much of that. Interestingly, I have a lot of clients initially come on with the live teleconference thing, like a Zoom, but I have some more regulars that when they need a reading, we just pop onto Facebook Messenger and text chat at each other. They ask questions, I pull cards, I type it back to them. And it actually works really well. You'd think it'd be a lot more time consuming, but it's really not. I'm able to do it. Sometimes I'll take pictures of the cards that I'm doing and pop it into the messenger so they can see if that's what they're interested in. But most of the time I think of tarot as it's my toolkit. It's my tools. It's for me. It's to help me give you the answers. It's not really for you, but some of my regulars, in fact, if I think about it, most of my regulars are tarot readers. And so they kind of want to see the cards, so I'll take pictures of the cards. As far as pricing goes, like my philosophy, is like a roller coaster over the last several years. Right now on my page, if you go to dax.thetarotguild.com, I've got 2 sessions you can book. I got a quick answer session, which is $67. And that's either live for around 15 to 20 minutes and then email or an email reading. And that's for fast answers. So that's like, depending on what we can squeeze into an email or squeeze into a 15 or 20 minute session. I mean, you can actually do a lot in 15, 20 minutes, and they ask questions and we just pull cards and it's kind of rapid on that. And then we got my full live session is discount at 20%. I was mentioning before. So instead of charging the 120, I charge 97, and it's not an hour. It's typically 30 to 40 minutes, but I don't really put hard, unlike a lot of people, I don't put, firm numbers on these things. To me, it's the short reading, the long reading. If the long reading takes an hour, it does. It usually doesn't. We can get a lot out in 30 or 40 minutes. And the same thing with the short one. If it takes 10 minutes, great. If it takes 15, 20, great. So I charge 97 for that, but I also do their full custom numerology chart. Sorry, the wind's picking up here. The numerology chart, and put it into a full report, and I email that out to them before the reading. And then when we meet for the reading, I go through the chart with them in the report and then start pulling cards. So anyway, that's how I work and how I price right now.
Well, I think one of the, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the things that came to mind is whether or not, you can just do a reading and then that's it. And then whether or not they want you to interpret the reading. And that's where it gets kind of tricky. I prefer to just do the reading and take it and do with it whatever you want. Where you kind of get into time wasting is someone they want to hem and haw. Can you interpret that? So you have to, that's always another thing that you have to figure in there. I tend to stay away from the real interpretive ones because long time ago, I gave someone what I thought was the worst reading in the world. I just read what was in the cards. A week later, the person came up and said, "Can I give you $100 bill? That was the best reading that I ever had in my life." So you have to be careful that you don't fall into the trap of reinterpreting with your ego a reading that you give. You want to just give a clean reading. This is what the card said. Okay, done.
Yep.
And not get, because you could go on for hours with someone if they go, "Well, can you explain this? What does this mean?" No, honey, this is what I saw. You were the one. And they actually get more value out of it. So the one thing I always say, keep it short and sweet and just the facts that the card said. Don't get in there and interpret. That's when the ego takes over.
Yes. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
That's, yeah. Actually, I posted this in chat. What I found is, okay, you got people milling around and they, what can you tell me? Give me $20. And all I need is their birthday. And because from the birthday, you can get their soul card and their birth cards. And once you've got those two cards, go nuts.
Oh, I
And
love that. That's great.
it's crazy because you can do so much with just that information. And the next thing you know, you just reach out and you pop their jaw shut and say, was there something else, honey? No, 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 here's your money. Go. They wander off and say, oh my God, what happened? Don't worry about it. But that's a really good way. So if you need an introduction, use that.
Yeah,
That's
you'd be amazed how many people love just a few card. Like, okay, so what I just explained, like with my DAX page, that's what's going out to the international audience, president of the Tarot Guild, blah, 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 But here in my hometown, here in Tucson, and I'm out at the pub or out at one of the veteran service organizations, the American Legion, something like that, somebody, somehow it comes up, always does, and suddenly, instantly, you're the most interesting person in the room. And they want you to pull cards, and it's like, what do you charge? Oh, give me $20. And, and you pull some cards and they're happy as a clam. And then someone else, oh, can you pull my cards too? Sure, $20. And in a half hour, you do like, 10 readings and you made $200 and you only pulled a few cards for each person, so, don't be locked into things, it's all situational and where you are and, different things like that, don't feel you have to charge the big bucks, maybe that's what's on your website, but then like in person, give me $20, just pull a few cards. I'll ask them. I do the same thing. I ask them their birth date and I'll give them their attitude number, their life path, and where they are in the 9-year cycle. I'll talk a little bit about that. Pull 3 or 4 cards. They're happy as a clam.
Nothing to it. And if they really want to get intense, you do their birth month, day, and the year that you're in right now. And this is where you're at right now. And they go, whoa, whoa,
Yeah, that alone,
okay.
when I tell them, oh yeah, you're in a personal year of 5, that's why it seems like a roller coaster this year. Oh my God, it does. Oh my God, there's like all this chaos going on. It's like, well, yeah, you're in a 5 personal year, it's amazing. It always works too. That's why I love
Always,
it.
always.
Always works.
So does that give you
else?
enough insight? Vita, does it give you enough insight as to you're doing great, by the
Yeah,
way.
you're doing great.
But
You are.
do you have any questions now or?
No, that's good. I was just picturing like if being using the Celtic cross would like make me a higher on a higher level, and then I could charge more, and then maybe I could actually perform hour readings, because that's like a long time right now for me to spend with people. I feel like if I spent an hour on somebody, I'd be like, what are your 10 questions? Like, instead of just focusing on one specific thing, maybe I don't know what, I guess I just don't know what other people do in an hour, but I'm just pretty basic right now. And I was just picturing myself, if I did use the Celtic cross, maybe it would be a couple years from now or something. Or
Yeah, it all depends on the person, Vita. Like, the way Pamela does it, she can snap out a 10-card Celtic cross reading in 10 minutes. You may stretch it out, but that's why I said about, my, I'm looking at an hour's worth of time, 60 minutes, $2 a minute, $120. I give, I do a 20% discount. I like the $97 figure. I don't know why. It's just what I like for a full reading. But like I said, typically they only run 30 or 40 minutes. I mean, it is difficult for me to, stretch out an hour. That's a long time, I know people that do 2 hours and I'm like, that's a full-length movie.
wow, yeah.
Are you doing their entire life?
Yes.
I'm sure the client is the one that's doing most of the talking in a situation like that.
You're right.
True.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And if they want to pay me $90 to talk, whatever blows your hair back, I'll sit there and listen.
I don't, I mean, I would say this, that, it also depends on your reading style. And that is
Yes.
something that is going to change and develop and, shift in a lot of different ways. I do a lot of 1 hour readings. I do a lot of 2 hour readings. It sounds crazy. It's a full length movie, I know, but I feel like it morphs beyond, right?
It does.
Because the idea of doing a 1 hour reading on one question, yeah, I don't do that. That would be like, why would that happen? But what happens is follow-up questions, right? If somebody comes in there and I let them ask whatever it is that they want to ask, I don't try to tell them, oh, you should just be, empowering yourself. I don't do that. But I know that there's a reason why they're coming to me. And so we talk, in a conversation that lasts an hour is nothing, right? A
Yeah, that's what
conversation that
most
lasts,
people want.
yeah, if a conversation that lasts 2 hours is nothing. And for me, it's sort of like what Pamela is teaching us today about storytelling. I look at it as a conversation with cards. They're talking, I'm shuffling. They're a lot of people set up their question. Well, my husband left me. He was just going to get cigarettes. And then the next day the car got repossessed. They're telling you this story. And as they're telling me the story, I'm shuffling. Sometimes a card falls out of the deck, and it just becomes like a rhythm. And so, there's, sometimes there's like a little jingle for a
Yes.
song, and sometimes there's an opera, and I kind of think of it like that there's a rhythm to a reading, that there's a conversation that we have. I think of it when I do a reading for myself. The cards are responding to me. I mean, sometimes I'll just have something mind-boggling happen in my life, and I'll pull out my cards and I'll just shuffle and I'll just start pulling cards. I'm like, well, what do you think? Like I'm talking to somebody. It sounds insane now,
No,
right?
it doesn't.
Yeah. But they're telling me, and it's like, well, should I care about this? There's another card. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Because that's the thing about tarot, is it's like, it can be like your best friend that is just going to tell you how it is, and so that's how readings get longer, because when you bring a third person into, well, really a second person, but if you think of the cards as a person, okay, I'm done. But it
Makes
just
sense.
kind of, it's a rhythm, and it's something that you're going to develop in setting hard and fast rules and stuff. Yeah, that's necessary, to have a starting point and everything. But then after a while, you realize, like, okay, how much time do I have in a day? And that's why charging by the minute or the hour or the half hour or whatever, I think is a good place to start. So that's
What
all I got.
I love in-person readings. I really do, like sitting across from somebody, which has been really tough the last couple of years, but it still works. You can still make it work. And what I do is, as they're telling me, like Mary said, their story, I'm shuffling and I'm doing, and then I fan them out in front of them, and I'll tell them, pick me 12 cards, pick me this many cards. And I'll watch them and watch some people just start, pulling cards. Other people, they'll literally stop, and it's almost like the cards are telling them this one and this one, and I'll have them make a pile for me. And so they've done their own job of shuffling. They've done their own little thing there. They can't accuse me of stacking the deck. And when I start reading those cards, I start laying them out, and I say, okay, here's what we're dealing with, but hang on just a minute. And by the time I get everything situated where I'm looking at it, I look up at them, and it's just like, they're right there because they picked these cards. I didn't pick these cards. They picked them. And I can't let them shuffle the deck because they're too big and they'll bend them and I'll get pissed off. But
Right.
they can pick their own cards. And I've loved that ever since and this is the best part. When you're sitting down and you've got different people constantly, every half hour, somebody else is sitting down. And so what I do in between clients, I'll pick them up and I hold them between my hands and I blow on them. And that clears the energy. And then what I do is before I start shuffling for them, I have them blow on them. And they say, is that sanitary? Don't spit on them, just blow. And it works. It picks up their energies. This is, it's
The
one of those little
Corona
magic-
deck.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is also you are, in New York, we have to say it's entertainment. Anyway, so I want to just share that the best reader that I know of and the highest paid reader in New York City share her style. I'm going to say she, but it could be he or she. They claim to read every card in the deck, and they just grab the deck and they start laying down cards, and then they'll see one and they'll put it aside until they've gone through the whole deck and they put 10 cards aside. I mean, this goes counter to everything that many times that we're taught. And then this is where the talent comes in. It's the intuition, because this person who kind of is one of my mentors says, it ain't the cards, honey, it's the reader. The cards are the red shoes. So she pulls out the cards that she thinks works for the question and then just goes from there. So but one of the things that they always say is it's not the quantity of the cards. Because there's some people who will charge, they do one reading, but they're going into the vessel that is the reader. They're not relying just on the cards. It's also, the cards are almost a tool where you touch them and it starts to flow. So,
Mhm.
but the most important thing, it ain't the cards, honey, it's the reader. And so don't get dependent upon the spread that you're doing, the amount of cards that you're reading. It's you that they're paying for.
Mhm.
In fact, I know someone who says, I don't need no damn cards. I just do it. The cards are part of the props.
But
Right.
the first person that ever made me go buy a tarot deck, I said, why do I need one? She said, because honey, you need a visible means of prophecy so you stop freaking people out.
Yep. You got the power. You've got the power. It ain't the cards, honey.
And that's so true. I mean, anybody who's drawn to divination of any form has got messages and information that they need to get out. And when you just start walking up to people saying, oh my gosh, you need to trade cards right now. And they look at you like, who the are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's better to have the cards told me than,
Yeah.
them call call the authorities.
All those names they call us.
I know.
Well, in New York, we go, just let me entertain you. And it is. I mean, there's a lot of learning comes through in entertainment. So don't give up entertainment.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. I mean, we only went like 45 minutes over, but that's okay.
Oh,
No, there's not really a time limit, but it was a lot of fun. I think it was very informative. I think a lot of people will get something out of this, and my wind's really kicking up, so we got to get off here. End this recording before it's like a 2-hour recording, right? So
Okay.
thanks everybody for being here.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. That was
You're welcome.
fun.
That was awesome.
Glad you
Everybody.
enjoyed it. Use it.